Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Thank you. Now enjoy the show.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of RAERAEs Review. I'm going to talk about Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. I'm going to give my opinion, my take. Pretty much everything is allegedly speaking, of course, based off of these true lives in this reality show on Bravo TV. Please like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and you can share it with the people. Now, this is episode 7. I think we're pretty much halfway done with this. And the husbands is ghetto, some of the ladies is ghetto, and I'm surprised it had a child. Look at how my voice changed real quick. I am surprised at Heather. I really am. Excuse me, make sure I pronounce and e-nuts, because child, somebody about to get it. Okay, now we leave off with the men, acting ghetto, straight ghetto, but we can understand because they defending their wives. So pretty much we leave off with Lisa going through the party, screaming and hollering at Whitney on the phone with her PR services, wanting to see who talking mess about her, who's defaming her, who's slandering her name, and this, that, and the third. And Whitney is just really trying to talk to her real soft like and not make a scene. But child, that didn't work. So pretty much we all saw what happened. So Lisa's acting like a banshee, running through the crowd, charged at Justin, telling him his wife, cussing at him, talking about his wife is a liar and how dare she. And Justin got tired of it. He was like, my wife's not an effing liar. She's not. And then he kind of, stepped in her direction as she walked away. And that's when John put his hand up on his chest, like, hold on, partner. Don't step to my wife and cussing at her crazy. And then so they start kind of, going back and forth, tussling. Get your hands off me. Get your hands off me. You know how dudes do. Now, I was waiting for a bowl to be thrown, because once you touch me in a heated argument, there's really no coming back from that. I'm just saying because, cooler heads ain't prevailing. And you put your hands on me in an argument, and we arguing tough, cussing. So, luckily nothing too bad happened. Just a little, hold on, stop in the name of love type of thing. And, John had Lisa's back. Justin had Whitney's back. Whitney is telling everybody to calm down. Whitney telling John not to, touch her husband and go with your wife. And then Angie tries to control the situation and announces that we're going to have a blessing by Mary. So they finally get everything, calm, to where Mary gives the party a blessing. She wants people to hold hands. They don't want to hold hands, certain folks. Mary, we love your intention. We really do, boo. But they weren't about to touch it. We don't want them to touch. That was part of the problem, Mary. That was part of the problem. Weren't you there? Weren't you watching? So yeah, Mary gives the blessing, and Justin's still talking ish. He Justin ready. Justin ain't having it. So next we see Justin and Whitney at home, and they talking about what happened the night before, and he's pouring everything, all the liquor out from Lisa and John. Whitney's like, really? You really gonna do that? He's like, don't you see me doing it? Like, dang. And then Lisa and John, pretty much on the opposite, talking about, the night before. and how they want to make it right with Justin and Whitney. I'm like, oh, well, John wanted to make it right with Justin because Lisa done had it with Whitney and all of her false accusations. So looked like, John was more of the mature one in this situation, but at the same time, I don't want nothing of yours in my house if you're gonna be doing this, that, and third. I don't blame Justin, but it's a little childish, you never know when you may need a little taste. Anyway, who they acted a butthole, didn't they? So next we see who we talking about? Heather and Britani. Child. So they talking about Jared and how she still wishy-washy over him and she don't see how she is. Heather sure does like to tell people how to act. I think she's projecting a little bit. I think she's have a little PTSD from her marriage. Because I remember season 1, she mentioned how she needed to get out of that marriage and get out of that religion because they always want to tell her what to do and she didn't think it was right. But she's doing it with other folks. And I think that's where Bronwyn gets a little perturbed. But speaking of Bronwyn, she's talking to Todd about what they're going to do for the first time they met. And I believe they want to go somewhere in Long Beach or Thermal or something like that. I forget where. But anywho, guess we'll find out next episode. But regardless of the geography, she's talking to Todd, and he seems like a no nonsense type of dude. I kind of get the sense from Bronwyn, but she's a little more diplomatic. But yeah, she's talking about taking the couples to out here in Cali. Like I said, I think it's Thermal or something like that, and pretty much doesn't know who to invite because of the issues they've had. Regarding Heather and Britani. She says she definitely does not want to invite Britani. And then her husband makes a joke, so yeah, because I know that they're Mormon out here, but boy, she got a lot going on, meaning her two, boos, her ex / whatever, Jared. And what's her name? Aaron, the new dude that she swiped left on, invited to the party. And they was kissing kind of, heavy, like, girl, I thought you was real, a little more approved than that. Anyway, yeah, so like I said, Todd seems like a stickler for certain behavior. And this is going to be interesting because I haven't seen him around all the foolishness. I wonder why. I think Brett Bronwyn is easing him into the foolishness. But anyway, what else happened? Oh, then she mentioned Gwen's family drama. Now, this is why I say I think Todd is no nonsense because he said, you already know how I feel about that. And he didn't really get into it too much, but she's like, Brown was like, yeah, I know. Pretty much, he already told her how he felt about it, and she kind of recaps, and then production also recaps how Gwen felt funny about her dad's family wanting her to pretty much grovel kind of and back into their lives when it should be the other way around. They're the ones who shut her out even before she was born. So that's gonna be interesting because Todd don't seem like he's like, homie, don't play that. So if you hear me say, homie, don't play that, that's gonna be Todd. So next we see Lisa. Child. Her sister Denise comes to visit, and then she gets emotional because she starts talking about her kids and how Henry was being dissed by some other kids when he invited them to a party and it wasn't, much going on. And he's just having a hard time struggling with friendships. He was more happier in that area when his big brother was around because he would hang around his big brother and his friends. But that's the thing. They're like, what, 10 years apart, it seemed like? So Jack is 18, 19, maybe. And Henry is a little kid. I'm like, they shouldn't be hanging around all the time. They're on two totally different mindsets. And I think it's important that he make friends and get from under that video game. Like Angie said, I mean, every time we've seen that boy, if they wasn't in a drive-through, he under some video game, and it's a season 5. And I don't believe we ever seen none of his friends. Not like his friends have to film, but not a practice, soccer practice, no sports activity. Looking frail, like and pale, and like he never see the sun, and he always in the room. So again, we got to get these kids out of these video games. It shouldn't be. I mean, it's just maybe just a little too much for him, and he's a little socially awkward because he's always up under that video game. Maybe that's what it is. I'm not talking about a parenting, but I'm just saying maybe he just needs a little more activity with some kids and less video game. Anyway, so what's next? Whitney, Angie, and Bronwyn, they out and about talking about the husband's child, and John texted Justin to talk, which sounds so cool. Whitney told the ladies it was Lisa regarding the Alibaba and how her connections really confirmed that it was Lisa. The source told her person, who then told her, and now she's relaying the information towards everybody else. And they're like, how do you know? She said it was confirmed that it was Lisa. I'm like, oh, Ali, bye, bye, bye. Then Bronwyn invites the ladies to California, and she lets them know that Britani is not invited, and she's not sure about Heather. But she's going to invite Heather over so they can talk and straighten things out, and hopefully they can, mend fences so that they can have a great trip. Sounds good to me. And then Angie agrees with that Heather is tripping. She really didn't appreciate going back and telling Lisa what she said. But that's what y'all all do. That's what Angie does. So girl, bye with all that. What's next? Heather. Heather invited to Brittany's family church activity, a very Latter-day Saints situation. Angie comes with wine. Brittany is a little offended because Mormons don't drink. But then Angie reminds us that every time we've been together, Brittany has been drinking. So what's the problem with me bringing wine? Child, but listen, you come into a church that pretty much does not partake in alcoholic beverages. If you're coming to Brittany's home, Angie, that would be the more etiquette thing to do. Or if you meet her outside, put this in your trunk for later. But don't bring it inside a church. If they're not going to use it for communion, girl, and I don't believe they grape juice. The non-fermented grape juice, Angie. Come on now. Read the hymnal. Read the hymnal. Hence, read the room. Get it? Get it? Okay. What's next, child, in my notes? My notes. What else I put in here? Oh, Brittany is thinking about all of how her family has been great and wonderful, showing her how to be the best she can be. And that's what she wants. She calls it her fairy tale, her parents' fairy tale that she wants. Girl, that's your parents' life. And you have to make your life your own. And perhaps if you would step out of the shadows of your parents, you wouldn't keep making the same bumbling mistakes because you're not your parents. You have to do things according to how you live, like you drink and they don't. Hello. Start there. So next, Heather is being talked about by Angie, pretty much, commenting on Lisa's son and video games and using it as a babysitter. Angie didn't appreciate. She says Heather is desperate for friendship. I noticed back in college or high school, and I can see it now. And, Angie pretty much talks with her about it and lets her know, I saw the same thing with you and Jen, and it's really, something that perhaps shouldn't be happening. Angie had to let her know, that I really do think that, Heather's measures her friendships and according to how things are according to her own perspectives and thinks it should be that way instead of letting things flow and be natural and pretty much hold herself accountable. So now we got Bronwyn wanting Heather to hold herself accountable. We got Mary wanting Heather to hold herself accountable. And Angie wanting Heather to hold herself accountable. Anybody else? Anybody else? So if 3 people saying it, maybe, there's some truth to that, Heather. And we're going to find out a little later what that means. So what's next on my list? Child, John and Justin meet up down to the cafe place. So pretty much Justin didn't like how Lisa came at him and Whitney. John didn't like how Justin stepped to Lisa, cussing and carrying on. And John thinks that Justin owes Lisa an apology. Justin doesn't see that. But, just like, why should I apologize? This is how she always acts, Again, it's perspective. Perhaps they should just agree to disagree. What Justin needs to do is apologize for inviting Jared. He wasn't hosting the party. He needs to be apologizing to Angie and what's her Sean? That's that her husband's name? Because of her child. Justin and 2 little issues going on. What else happened? That was it with them. They pretty much agreed to disagree, and Justin's gonna sit on and think about apologizing. So they had their lunch and everything, and they were, 2 men talking. But yeah, I know they wanted to probably, do a little more, but it's all good with them. I think they're gonna be okay. So finally, Heather comes over to Bronwyn's, and there's dog poo and dog pee everywhere. OMG. Why couldn't she make sure that stuff was cleaned up? Even if the dogs just did it, I'm pretty sure that's the first time that they've done that in that house. Oh, I'm itching because it was just so disgusting. And Heather noticed it. So they sit down. I don't know one thing. If I would have smelled it, I would say, "Oh, what's that?" I think the dog made an issue. I would have made it known to get this stuff cleaned up because I smell it and it's gonna make me. Child, I can't be around all that going on, and I'm itching thinking about it. Anyway, so they sit down, and one of the dogs over there, all up under Bronwyn. So pretty much, Bronwyn is explaining to Heather that because of a double standard, you're upset with me. Everybody talks about each other, but you find it strange or wrong that I said what I said, but when you say things or whoever else says things, well, since we're talking about us, but when you say things, Heather, it's okay. It's, no need for it to be broadcasted as wrong like me. So Bronwyn said, yeah, I was messy because you said this, I said that. And, I can apologize for being messy. And she's expecting the same from Heather, but Heather doesn't see that she's wrong in anything. Heather has this superiority complex, it looks like, because Heather was so defensive and pretty much deflecting every time Heather said, and they're talking over each. I can't stand when people talk over me. That means you don't care what I have to say. All you want to do is say what you want to say, and it's not fair to us. It's not fair to this conversation, and it's quite disrespectful, if you ask me. Ooh, I can't stand it. Ooh, where was I? I got mad a little bit. Okay, so pretty much like I said, Bronwyn apologized for being messy. Heather can't believe Bronwyn comes off this way. Heather is very defensive. She can't see she's part of their non-friendship. She can't see that she's a part of the problem. Bronwyn was trying to explain to her, well, it takes 2 to tango pretty much. And, I want to invite you to California, but I was hoping we would have had this conversation go a little better so we can move forward, but it doesn't seem like you want to. Again, they're talking over each other. They're hearing each other, but they're also talking over each other. And all Heather is doing is feeling defensive and feeling like she's there to grovel in order to go to a trip. Heather, really? You're supposed to be the sensible one. All these years I've been thinking you're the sensible one, but you're very self-righteous, and it's coming off as though you don't owe anybody anything, and everybody else needs to pattern themselves after your mindset type of thinking. Ew. Mm. What's really going on, Heather? Child, both. So what else going on? Yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, here we go. Now that's the humdinger. Y'all ready? Y'all ready for this part? The one thing Heather kept doing was saying how she's terrified of how Bronwyn has come at her. Terrified. 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 And also insulting Bronwyn at the same time because Bronwyn and her man Todd did not have a prenup. Heather doesn't see that being offensive or, or being wrong to say. First of all, that's between them two. They can have no prenup, 12 prenups, and 2 postnups. What's it to you? But see, again, Heather feels like because they have all this business and it's really a business, they should have a. Well, that's not your business. Again, what's it to you, Heather? So pretty much, Heather excuses herself from the conversation. Just very passive aggressive. I mean, extremely passive aggressive, if you ask me. Brown was nothing remotely close to being terrifying towards her. So Heather leaves, insults her again, and passive aggressively insults her, letting her know that she'll, do and be what Bronwyn wants her to do and be, and hopefully Bronwyn will accept her. Just all that kind of, nonsense. And girl, get off my lawn. That's all I would have said. Girl, get off my lawn with all that. Because So I'm glad that Bronwyn invited her over. So now she really sees Heather for who she really is. Heather, you need to change that, boo-boo. If you watching and listen, Heather, you need to change that, boo-boo. You heard what I said. I gave you the last 5 minutes. You heard what I said. You was wrong. There's 2 left shoes for that. Whew. Anyway, y'all, that was Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, season 5, episode 7. Lucky number 7, okay? And Ramon, we're going to catch you next week for episode 8. Again, thanks for tuning in. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share if you haven't already. And I'll catch you next time. Happy Vlogtober. RAERAEs.